And welcome back to the Mega Power Show. I'm the Feared Storm.
I'm Mercury, guys.
Alright, we're in the wrestling section, and this week, guys, we're talking about the Royal Rumble. January 31st, live from Atlanta, Georgia, is the Royal Rumble. We're going to be talking about the Royal Rumble history, guys. In 1988, Vince McMahon had a vision, and this vision came to fruition when it was on the USA Network. I know at the time when I was watching the Royal Rumble in 1988, Mercury, you saw the Royal Rumble 88 not too long ago because I gave it to you. What was your impression of just looking at the Royal Rumble in 88 with the Dino Bravo bench press, with the actual 20-man Royal Rumble match, Ricky Steamboat versus Rick Rude, the Glamour Girls versus the Jumping Bomb Angels?
I loved it. I love watching old school wrestling. It's a lot better than these days and ages, that's for sure. It's going back, sitting there watching Dino Bravo, do what he did, and watching the Jumping Bomb Angels fight. It's a blast from the past. It really is. I enjoyed the Royal Rumble back in the day. These days, not so really bothered until later, but I really enjoyed it. Really.
Royal Rumble 88 was the first ever Royal Rumble, and the first two participants in the Royal Rumble were Bret Hitman Hart, returning back to Monday Night Raw this Monday, and Strikeforce member Tito Santana. And the winner of the Royal Rumble was Hacksaw Jim Duggan, guys. He was the very first Royal Rumble winner. So, moving on to 89. Don't want to go too much into 88. 89 was a big year. You had the coronation for the king of the WWF. Haku was the king at the time, taking on Harley Race. You had a best out of 2 out of 3 falls. You had the Rougeaus and Dino Bravo versus the Hearts and Hacksaw Jim Duggan. You had the Super Pose Down with Ravish and Rick Rude and the Ultimate Warrior. And of course, you had the Royal Rumble in itself. 30 guys it was up to. Mercury, your impressions of this Royal Rumble, if you can remember it a little bit.
It was pretty good. I like the whole the show off there between Rick Rude and Ultimate Warrior. That was pretty cool until Rick Rude had to hit the Ultimate Warrior. But that was pretty cool. That's the most that stood out for me in that Royal Rumble was that. I just remember that so clearly. But it was a good pay-per-view. What's your thoughts? You liked it?
You actually brought something up. That Royal Rumble was the one that stood out the most to me. Everything that took place in that Royal Rumble, that was the one thing that stood out, was the Super Pose Down between Ravish and Rick Rude and the Ultimate Warrior. Everything else didn't make a difference to me, but that was the one thing that stood out. And Big John Studd won the Royal Rumble that year, although the $1 Million Man cheated and paid off a few people to get number 30. But anyway, enough about that. Yeah, I kind of agree. I did enjoy it. Moving on to Royal Rumble 1990. So many great matches. We had the submission match between Rugged Ronnie Garvin and Greg the Hammer Valentine. We had the Big Boss Man taking on, I forget the guy's name. Big Boss Man fought in that one against Hacksaw Jim Duggan. That's right, against Hacksaw Jim Duggan. You had the Royal Rumble match itself. You had the Brother Love show. You had the Rougeaus and the Bushwhackers in the opening contest. So many great matches, and the Royal Rumble match itself. And Steve, I know you know who won the Royal Rumble that year. Who won the Royal Rumble that year?
What year?
1990.
1990? Oh boy, man, you put me on the spot. I don't remember. I'm sorry. I look like a fool, but I don't remember. But I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay, man. I thought you might know. Hulk Hogan won the Royal Rumble 2 years in 1990 and 1991. There are your two Royal Rumble winners in 1990 and 1991. 1991 stood out. 1990 didn't really stand out that much as 91 did, because 1991 was the year the Ultimate Warrior got royally screwed out of the WWF title with Sergeant Slaughter. But enough about 1991. 1990 and 1991 were good, but 91 stood out more to me than 1990 did. I don't know how you're feeling and thoughts about that. If you want to give a comment real fast about that.
No, they did. They really stood out. They really did. But like you said, Hulk Hogan winning it. You know, who else would have won it? You know, like we talked about it before. I always thought Hogan won like every Royal Rumble back in the day. It always felt that way. But they were good Royal Rumble. They really were.
They were good Royal Rumbles. 1992 was the year of the Nature Boy. Woo! Ric Flair won the Royal Rumble. He beat 29 other guys to outlast to win the Royal Rumble. It was the first to go over 60 minutes in a Royal Rumble.
He did a great job that night.
Yeah, he did. He had the greats of the greats that night in the Royal Rumble.
Yep.
Everybody was great in that Rumble that night. 1993, Yokozuna won the right to the first time ever to go to WrestleMania to fight the champion Bret Hart at WrestleMania 9. In 1994, we had a co-winner because nobody could decide who won the Royal Rumble. Was it Lex Luger was eliminated first, or was it Bret Hart? Who really won the Royal Rumble? They couldn't decide, so Bret Hart and Lex Luger both won the Royal Rumble and went on to fight for the WWE title, but they both got separate shots. The winner of the Yokozuna and Lex match would fight the Bret Hart at later in the night.
I have a question for you there. Do you think Lex Luger got screwed out of that, or no?
I think Lex Luger did get screwed. I think it would have been a better main event to have Lex versus Bret at WrestleMania. But we'll get that in one of our other shows when we talk about WrestleMania.
There you go.
Anyway, 1995 was the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels. The first guy to go into number one, and the first guy to do it from number one all the way through and outlast everybody. In 1996, it was the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels. 1997, Stone Cold Steve Austin. Austin 316 ruled supreme in the 1997 Royal Rumble, and then won it again in 1998. 1999 was Vince McMahon. In 2000, it was The Rock. 2001, it was none other than Stone Cold yet again. Can you believe it? Stone Cold going back. I guess it was kind of fitting in 2001 at the time, right, Steve?
Yeah, what's up with the back-to-back thing?
I know, back-to-back, right? And in 2002, it was the game Triple H. 2003, it was Here Comes the Pain, Mr. I'm Better Than WWE, Brock Lesnar. 2004, we won't mention his name, but we know who won 2004 because we don't... Actually, fuck that shit. Chris Benoit won the Royal Rumble 2004. Chris Benoit rocked the WWE when he came in, and he was one of the best technical wrestlers. And Chris, you're sorely missed, buddy.
I miss him.
I miss him too. In 2005, it was Batista. In 2006, it was that jumping Mexican bean, Rey Mysterio, who got a push over Eddie Guerrero's death. 2007, it was the Phenom, The Undertaker. 2008, it was John Cena. Boo! 2009, well, it was Randy Orton. Well, of course, I hear voices in my head. And of course, in 2010, who will it be? We want your picks. We're going to give you our picks in a few weeks. But until then, Mercury, any last thoughts on the Royal Rumble history?
Oh, man. The Royal Rumble. Yeah. The Royal Rumble. All together. It's just a great match. Great to be you. I'm sorry, guys. I'm out of it tonight. This year's Royal Rumble is going to be spectacular. I can't wait. And like you said, in a couple weeks, we'll give you guys our opinion on who we think is going to win the Royal Rumble. But if you guys have not checked out the other Royal Rumbles in the past, I would say do so. Me and the Feared Storm love them. And we say go back and watch maybe 95 and 96 Royal Rumble. Keep your eye on them.
Alright, guys, that about wraps it up for our wrestling section. I'm the Feared Storm.
I'm Mercury, guys.
We'll be right back with more of the Mega Power Show.